Hello and welcome back to another episode of Capturing the Intangibles. This episode marks the official 1-year anniversary for anyone from our crew seeing each other in person. Ups, downs, thoughts, and way too in our feelings, this is our perspective as a remote technology team. Welcome in to another podcast for Capturing the Intangibles. Guys, really good to see you again. This week marks a very interesting milestone, let's call it. So 1 year ago today is the last time the three of us were together and saw each other in person, not digitally, when we were visiting the development team in Prague, which is a weird, sad, maybe somewhat interesting kind of concept. But on theme with that, I thought maybe today we would focus on maybe less about the technology. We'll throw in a little bit here and there, but let's talk about our experiences of no travel for an entire year from the perspective of a technology company. We've got good, bad, ugly stories. Let's just bring it all out here and have an open conversation about it and how we're going to deal with it moving forward.
So I just want to kick off actually first by saying not only is it the 1-year anniversary of us not traveling or less having seen each other, but it's also really bittersweet because now I'm put on like a 5-year engagement plan, because that was also the time that I was supposed to get married, and then we had to push that back a year. We've now pushed that back a year and a half. And so, coming back from that trip, I was riding such a high, really, really productive. My fiance and I went over to Portugal. We were checking out, the catering and everything, had a wonderful time. The second that we land, the president announced that all travel from the EU is now restricted and no one can travel in and out. And I was like, all right, well, we got a lot of plans to change.
Yeah, and that's the show, everyone. Last year sucked. Yeah. And so, but in all seriousness, guys, Mike, you're highlighting some personal things, which is terrible. And, I've got plenty of friends that are going through the exact, and even now, so we're supposed to be in DC, I think the first, like in the first week in June or so, and they're now reconsidering, do we have to push that back again? And it's really sad. So I feel for you, man. But from a work perspective, how's it been? Massimo, let's start with you. How has the last year been for you?
I think that in the beginning, everybody was like, we got some new thingy. Oh, we don't travel. To be honest, I thought that when I was going to get pension, then my travel was gone. So I never thought a work without travel. To be honest, I am... Since I became a product manager, back then in 2003, I traveled everywhere. Canada, Toronto in the beginning a lot, then Chicago a lot, then Atlanta a lot, and everywhere in the world, in Asia, in India, in Hyderabad. And so I thought, when I'm gonna stop with this work, my travel will stop. I never thought that my work will continue and I will never travel. That is actually a very, very interesting thing. And in the beginning, everybody was, it's going to be a new thing in a couple of months. But now it's a year, exactly 1 year. And it's. I feel like that every time I see you and colleagues and friends on the camera, and I'm thinking about, are they okay? Are we good? I'm missing really what we call in our podcast the intangibles, where I really want to understand if everything is okay or not, and can we do anything about it, right? So that's really what I'm missing. The personal relationship, the coffee corner discussions, the whiteboard discussions. I'm really I really missing it. And the whiteboard discussion is where we start to build, buying some. It's not an ad, but this is the new whiteboard discussions that we're trying to do with these new tools. I have Remarkable. People have the Surface Book. I have a Surface Book as well, and we're trying now to augment these discussions with these new tools. But I'm looking forward really to go back and visit the team and have really fantastic sessions to with the team, with inventing new things essentially.
Yeah, Mike, how about from your perspective? Any virtual fatigue at this point?
Not virtual fatigue per se. I think, that's always been sort of part and parcel with our job. But without the travel, for the longest time, I was thinking, man, we almost travel too much. Like Rick, you were every other week going to New York, right? And you're down in Atlanta, so you're traveling for 3-4 days at a time. So at a certain point, you start thinking like, am I traveling too much? But after that completely just fell off of a cliff, you kind of realize what the value of that is, because those same discussions, those same processes, whatever you're going to be doing, you can just totally hash out in 3, 4, 5 different 5 days in front of a whiteboard, all hanging out together. And actually, more importantly to me, is like going out for dinner, restaurants, the bar, whatever it might be, over a beer. Like, so much work actually gets done in those weird fringes that aren't necessarily just around a conference table, or that you can really accomplish when you're on a phone call, that you kind of realize like, wow, okay, we need to reset expectations about how productive and how fast some of these challenges that we're trying to address are really going to materialize. So it's not the virtual fatigue, but it's the stress from actually keeping the same time schedules and trying to accommodate with everybody. Hey, someone's got to pick up their kids, or I have a family member that has COVID now. Like, that's just completely a different ball game entirely to the world that we were living in last year. But it makes me definitely miss the travel component. Even if we did travel just a tiny little bit too much, I miss the value of it, because that's when you start to realize how impactful it is meeting customers, meeting you guys, hang out, for a beer, whatever it might be after hours, and that's when we actually get stuff done.
Yeah, and I think that the couple of things that it's actually very funny that my wife was complaining about my travel, and now she's saying, I think you should start to travel again. I think it's time that you travel again. I see that you should travel again. But the other thing is that the real division of work and private isn't there anymore, right? So your home office is next to your kitchen and your living room. And so you are in pandemic, you can't go out, there is a lockdown. So at the end of the day, your hobby now is your work, which we love our work. Actually, my work is my hobby as well. But there isn't really like I'm getting out of the office and I clean my mind, and now I deal with the family things. It's all now intermingled and connected, and when I talk to people and say, let's make sure that you have a very clear times where you do your work and you have a clear time also to disconnect, because if you're not even getting, restaurants in the Netherlands are closed since half October, so there is no way. In one way, for employers is really good, because the only thing that you do is just work, But on the other side, in the beginning was okay, but then on the long term, you get the fatigue you get that fatigue. And so having these other things to do is also very important, right? Because when you get back on work, you're more fresh and you're more focused on getting things done in a better way. Working for 14 hours, at some point you're going to make mistakes, so you really need to take care of yourself as well. It's very important to be sharp, especially in our job, that mentally you have to be very sharp what you do.
It's interesting because there's some people that won't put televisions in their bedroom because they want a separate space, right? A living room space, so that's where they actually relax, they hang out. Mm-hmm. They don't want a TV in their bedroom because they don't want basically the entire place to just sort of be a lounging area and everything like that. So they're compartmentalizing. And then you look at where we are today, which is there's no longer a border between work and your personal life, because you roll out of bed. The only difference between you, Massimo, at work right now is that door behind you.
Exactly.
Because when you step out that door, that's where you actually get all the family time and everything. But it's not like, you're walking through this gate and all of a sudden it's a different environment. It's all the same.
Yeah,
right? And it's actually
the routine, Mike, right? So you wake up, you do your, I do my Italian breakfast with cappuccino. That's that only that, and then I get to my office, then I do lunch, then I do work, and then dinner, then I go to bed, and then I restart the same routine, right? That is in the beginning okay, but this routine is now almost a year, and so this is really killing people. I'm telling you, everybody has the same routine problem, and breaking that routine with the lockdowns and you can go everywhere, that's really bad. That's really what we need to do. And by the way, you don't know, but I'm using this filter technology on this podcast and Teams. So when you will see me in real, I'm gonna be having more air. My braces are gonna be gone. I'm gonna be so good. Now you have to take with the filter. So I'm really curious. What I'm trying to say is I'm really curious when I'm seeing you in person. Are you really changed, or or not? Gonna be some surprises.
So what you're saying is you're wearing a TikTok filter right now that
Exactly.
makes you bold and braces, but when we actually see you in person,
Exactly.
flowing head of hair.
Oh, I'm gonna be so much more beautiful than I see in the camera now.
Oh, you're gonna be like the Italian Fabio.
Yes, with one B, by the way, not
perfect.
two B's.
Yeah. But Rick, right now you're locked away in a basement, are you not?
Yeah, no windows.
And I
Yeah.
and I never
how's it-
leave. No windows.
So you don't even travel upstairs, right? You're actually let
Barely,
alone
but
traveling
that's-
somewhere else.
But that's what it's like. Everything that you guys are hitting, whether you call it routine or lack thereof or boundaries, they don't exist really anymore. Not to throw too much pity into this, but you guys know me for many, many years now. I was religious about my routines, right? I did something early in the morning that was either workout or something. I was available at this time, always available early, just based on our meetings together. And then I was always pretty much free at night. But I'll relate this to travel in just a second. But now that everyone's always available, I would argue that I don't have that routine anymore, or that my routine has completely shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And those boundaries, and you're right, we ourselves are part of the issues too. So those that are really passionate about the work that they're doing emphasize the problem even more, because everyone's always available. So I'll give a great example. I log on at, I think it was like 5:30, 5:45 this morning here in my office, have not left since. Immediately, as soon as I become online, we're a global organization, I get pinged immediately, asking about a meeting that we're going to have at 10 a.m. my time, and are we prepped, and blah. And I'm sitting there going, I don't even know what meeting we're actually talking about, because I'm operating almost in hour-long blocks right now. But that's sort of it's not a bad thing. Look, we're all extremely fortunate to be as busy as we are and to have the capabilities to be doing these types of works. But it is to the detriment of a lot of the things that we were able to preserve when we were traveling.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you, from my perspective, I didn't enjoy the travel. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm a little claustrophobic. I don't know. I just didn't like the process of traveling, and we've done it for so long now. But the value, it's so clear in my mind now that the amount of focus that we're able to have when we are able to get everyone together as a group, not only for the focus of that group, but the outside world, then becomes like it respects those boundaries in a way, to where things that now take weeks of 2-hour meetings twice a week, it takes us a month to get through something with any tangible outcome. Literally, we could do that in a day and a half, all meeting together. And it kind of gets back to, we've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, Massimo, is that I've come to value the travel so much more, from someone that hates driving down to the Atlanta airport. I can't stand it. I don't like having to be there 2 hours early. I hate the delay. I'm neurotic about it. But it's so incredibly valuable. It's so incredibly valuable to be around those people that you can work together and influence. And I do highly, highly miss that.
So you are 2 hours before the travel? You don't beat me. I'm 4 hours before the flight.
Well,
Yeah.
4 hours.
Well,
I'm
here's the
15
deal.
minutes. 15 minutes for me.
So you closing the door of the planes, right?
Pretty much. I roll out of bed, and 15 minutes later, I'm at the airport.
No, I travel stress-free. So I make sure I'm really, on time. I can relax at the airport. Whatever happens, I don't care. Traffic jams, I'm there, and I can relax, do some emails there, and then get on the plane. My travel is really, really trying to relax and not being stressful doing on the last minute, because that's not good. You really need to take time for that.
I would certainly rather be there early, but you guys have to remember, you've experienced it here. I live north of Atlanta. I have to get through Atlanta to the airport. So the bets that I have to make, my Vegas style bets, is that, well, on any given day at any point in time, I may arrive 3 hours before my flight or 15 minutes before, but that's Atlanta.
Well, speaking on
but-
Vegas bets, the good thing I'm not traveling with Rick is that I don't do bets with him, because every time I did bets with him, I lost money. So that's actually, it was good for the money perspective not to travel.
That's now you're just putting on a show, because I believe I won you a few $100s on some sports bets last time we were there.
That
so.
was, gaining back on the lost. But, on saying, on a global organization, Rick, it's actually a good point that I'm on the European time, right? So when you guys wake up, it's already afternoon, beginning afternoon. Yeah, and, not that, I'm not actually a drinker at all, but sometimes you drink sometimes some Prosecco in the evening to enjoy. I stopped drinking because every time, you get pulled into meetings, hey, Massimo, can you help here? Can you help there? Which is really good, and, but when you travel, the difference is that you have an excuse not to show up in meetings, right? You have an excuse not to answer emails because you're traveling and you focus on the goal for that week. So that's why I really enjoy traveling, because not only on the focus, because you had an excuse essentially to say, hey, I'm traveling, don't have time for meetings, and and that's why you get a lot of done. It's not because you're meeting people, because now you have an excuse not to show up on all kind of meetings. With some meetings are okay, they are good and they are essential, but some meetings that you're just an optional, or you're a CC person and you have to show up, because otherwise people complain about that. But then these meetings are running in circles. So I love the excuse of the travel because of the emails or the meetings.
You know what I noticed with that too is that when you go out of office for a week or two and you're doing a little bit of travel for work, whatever it might be, people that are going to email you questions, when they see that out of office come in, they now actually try and start to answer that question themselves, do the research, or find out. When you're always around, and especially now where you're around like 20 hours a day almost, my morning, Rick's morning got a lot earlier, your evening got a lot later. It's very easy for me to ping anyone and ask them a question that I really should be finding out myself, either looking at documentation, checking out a wiki, or looking at some marketing collateral, whatever it might be. But the convenience factor of everyone always being available means that your inbox is so much more noisy now. And being able to travel before, yeah, it's like, well, you know what? This guy isn't available. This girl isn't available for me to get my answer. So I got to find some other way. I still need an answer, right?
Yeah.
So it actually had the byproduct of making people a little bit more self-sufficient and not depend on the convenience of people being available to get their job done.
Yeah.
Right?
Or we had people that, explicitly they saw, oh, you are on holiday, so you are traveling, and then all of a sudden they ask all kind of questions, right? You have also those profile of people as well. But, that happens all the time. That's fine. But I think, not being together, the other thing is that the planning, right? So what I always liked, the planning, and also showing and presenting to the team what we are doing for the next year, what are the plans, and having a forum for the team to ask questions to us, right? Remember that every time we go to a location, we do a town hall, right? And we do a town hall. That means that you're not meeting with the BAs or the PMs or some dev leaders, some architects, but you give everybody a way to not only to hear what we're planning to do and our vision and what are the goals that we have to hit, but also a way to ask questions, and literally every time, either a tactical question, a strategic questions, or even an HR questions, right? So that is today, even if you say, well, you can set up team meetings and do it, but that there is a wall or a barrier to do that. So in the beginning, I was doing some surprise meetings. I would invite random teams and have 10 minutes together. But now this is going also away, it's fading away as well. And I really do miss people asking questions. And you don't send an email, because an email is we get a lot of emails. And so when you were there, it was easy to just come to Massimo and ask a question. Hey, I got this problem. Can you help me with this? Right? So we are missing this.
Yeah, that's the thing. 20 years ago, when you first became a product manager, you were rubbing elbows with all these people. Now, you don't have that much exposure to them, and there's even more limited exposure since you're not in the same office. You can't just pull a couple of people in and say, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to see, hey, how you're doing? What are you working on?
Yeah.
Might not impact you, but you know what? It's nice to be able to actually see and ask those questions and feel like, yeah, I'm actually getting to collaborate and work with these people, even if they're higher up in the organization. Yeah, I can imagine you're definitely missing that more than any of us, Massimo.
Yeah, and I do promise to the audience that when we go back to travel, that we will record also sessions that we are doing together, like whiteboard sessions, or when we pull someone, an engineer or an architect into the discussion, we're gonna show a little bit the offices around, how we organize. So we're gonna give that perspective as well, so people hopefully will understand what we mean today in this podcast episode, right? So that's what we're missing. And so many times, discussions, what we had with Rick, in Prague, but also in Alpharetta office, different locations, right? But also different cultures. When we go in Hyderabad, then, we have a different team with different expertise and different skill set. And so every time it's also, it's so enriched, you get so enriched as a person to deal with these different cultures and different perspectives. And the way people operate as well, you get to respect how people operate in Prague or in Hyderabad or in Sweden or in Atlanta or even in Barneveld here in Holland, right? So, and I've learned a lot by traveling and see how the culture and the countries are different. Definitely, that's made me a much richer person than before.
Well, it's definitely hard to recreate or even create any sort of personal relationship virtually. It's just very, very hard to do, right? And so much of that matters when it comes to team building and executing certain things, to where, look, Mike can ping me whenever he wants. He can text me at midnight and he knows that's okay. But that's because we have this personal relationship that benefits our work experience. Those things matter. And I do worry, not necessarily worry, I'm protective against when we do get out of this hellhole. How do we then rebuild that? And that's going to be important.
Yeah. And I think that I'm not going to travel immediately because I think airports are going to be, with a lot of people, and maybe there is going to be all kind of strange rules. So I'll wait a month or two, and then maybe I'll jump on the plane. Maybe planes are being parked for a year there. They're not being serviced or used. So I don't trust that. So let that do a couple of flights before they get warm, and then I get on the plane as well.
What if it's Vegas? What if it's Vegas? You're going to pass that up?
Well, if it is a good conference where we can, learn, good things, that's fine. We have invited a lot of people in Vegas for good conference, and then they show up for 1 day only, right? So that's we want really to, take care of all kind of days and utilize this knowledge. So that's really good.
And those people always only ever show up to the dinners, I've noticed.
That's true as well. They don't either go to conference. They show us on the dinners, But anyways, that's also the good story of travel. I do have actually a good story of travel. One time in Singapore, I land, and then the taxi driver takes me to the hotel, and in the middle of the highway, the car broke. He could drive a little bit, but not a lot. But he really wanted to dump me on the highway and say, the next taxis are going to come. I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to stay in the car until the new taxi is coming. And that's really, it's really crazy. But around the world, actually, I have a list of airports that I've traveled. And I think it's more, I hit unique airports. I think it's more than 100 airports throughout the world.
Wow. So
it's really crazy. I've been everywhere, but I haven't been in Central America or in South America. But I think Atlanta I've been at least 60 to 70 times, and then now we moved the headquarters from Atlanta to New York, and then now I start to travel a lot to New York. So the trend that I had is wherever our company had the headquarters, I kept going around that. Before it was Toronto, then it was, Chicago, then Atlanta, and then New York, right? So I keep going around the headquarters, flying.
The one good thing about all this COVID nonsense is no one has to travel through LaGuardia.
Yeah, no, I did that.
That's the only thing that's made it work.
I did once. on LaGuardia.
Never
Oh,
again.
it's bad. Oh my god.
Yeah. But they're apparently
And that's-
redoing LaGuardia, so it should be a little bit improved by the time we can all travel again. So
So another
And that's like the hot link from Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's just I used to have to
Yeah.
go there. Oh, it was terrible.
one time with our previous colleague and good friend Predrag, we had to go to Vegas. We went through LA, then we went to LA. Then Delta canceled the connection to Vegas. Then they promised us an hour connection, and then it was like that connection was not coming. And then Predrag wanted to have a car. I said no, let's wait for a connection. Finally convinced me to say okay, let's rent a car and drive to Vegas. But you have to think about it was already 9 hours difference between Europe and LA. And then we jump on the car, 5 hours. I was sleeping and I thought that I woke up and I saw him sleeping as well. And he was driving. He wanted to drive. And we made at 11 o'clock Vegas time, PM, which I believe was already 6 a.m. or even 8 a.m. European time. I don't know how we made in Vegas, but he drove and I was sleeping. But that was really almost like on a dangerous side. But we wanted to get on Vegas. But thank God Predrag, drove me there. That was really good.
that's one of the things, though, I have to say, going back to travel being exhausting at a certain point in our careers. One of the things that I actually really valued, though, is that as exhausted as we were when we went to Vegas or San Diego or whatever it might be for a conference, it might be Amsterdam. We did one in Amsterdam one year. It's the week or the few days after or before that I've gotten some of the best trips of my life in. After we went to Las Vegas, I got to go to Mexico City with a colleague of ours. We took a quick flight. Another time we went over to the Grand Canyon. So we just grabbed a car, which I lucked out and I got a nice Jaguar. And we just blazed through the canyons and went out and went hiking for a weekend. Some of the best trips I'll ever have are as a consequence of being able to travel and, number one, getting to actually meet and hang out with everybody and do a conference or do these meetings. But it's also the experience afterwards that I really, really miss as well, because that's not something that you get on a frequent basis unless you also already happen to be out and about.
Speaking of hiking, I believe our friend Joe Pascaretti did with Manju after a conference, out of the blue
Yeah, he
with
did.
business shoes. He didn't have any shoes. He just went up and hiked, somewhere, in the neighborhood of Vegas. That was
If
very
you're
funny.
listening, Joe, we miss you.
Yeah, we're missing Joe. Hey, Joe.
So, guys, question for you though: do you think our experience over the past year is unique, or are most experiencing sort of the same thing? And maybe, from a technology company perspective, maybe it's one answer, or maybe from our customers or other companies of a different style. Do you think our experience is unique, or is it different?
You mean unique for the industry, that everybody has the same experience, or?
Let's do from our customers' perspective.
Yeah, no, I think even for our customers, it's very unique, right? So this is unprecedented, A lot of our customers now, they had to go live with a remote team, right? What does it mean, doing an implementation and doing a go live with a remote team? And frankly speaking, actually, we did a very very good job with that. And a lot of customers were open to do that. And frankly, maybe they didn't even have a choice because they were on a project that they had to go live, and then they had to change the mentality and do it go live. But it's not only about the go live and implementation, it's even presenting a new feature or presenting a new software. Most of the time it was done in person. Either you had a solution consultant going there, flying there and demoing and showing some new capabilities, and now it has to be done remotely, right? So, and having software in the cloud, of course, is very, very easy because it's just URL and a browser, and everybody can see together what the software is. So that actually has made, for the vendors that has that in the cloud, that actually is very, very easy to sell it and implementing and do it go live and support it, frankly speaking. But for the corporation that were starting the journey in the cloud, they had to accelerate, the culture, the mentality, and the skill set to do that, immediately. Maybe they thought, I'll take 2 years to do it, but now it has to take, 2 months to do it. I think COVID has accelerated the need of agility more than before, and the agility not to be flexible, but to be flexible with a certain time. You have the flexibility of a month to change, not a year, right? So that has reduced the amount of the time that you need to get something done. And Rick, we had a meeting with an analyst firm, and they were confirming that the pandemic, it's not only, everybody talk about agility and flexibility for years. The pandemic is just added the dimension of time, right? You have to be flexible and very fast flexible, because otherwise you're going to be going, out of business immediately. It's not, you don't have time anymore, essentially.
Yeah, you definitely have to have that infrastructure to pivot quickly for these unprecedented times. I do know that we've seen too some customers that have actually flourished in this time, have had the ability to focus on areas of their technology and corresponding business processes that they can now look at new innovative ways of developing new ways of doing things, right? So maybe it offered that opportunity to maybe have a little bit more focus than what we've been describing here, but that's because it's our situation from a global technology provider, not necessarily just a consumer.
Yeah, but I don't see, especially in the Netherlands, small business, not bigger businesses. They saw the pandemic in the spring, and then we went through the summer, and then now we are back with the third wave. And a lot of them, they are still complaining that the online retailers are, winning against them. And I'm thinking about, well, you're an entrepreneur, you had time to really getting something online and do online business and have a better logistics, and so on and so on, and work together with third-party logistics, work together to have an e-commerce site. And there I'm seeing them complaining, and they say, well, I'm going out of business. But to be honest, you did have a little bit time and warning to react. And if you now, after a year, you're complaining that the ones that are doing, not fair competition online, yeah, I'm sorry, that's the survival of the best. That's what Charles Darwin was saying about, the best that adapt will win. Not the strongest, but the best that adapts wins. And that you didn't adapt, then you're not gonna win, right? So yeah, so business have to be very serious to be flexible and adaptable, and very fast now as well.
Right. All right, so let me get your guys' prediction. So please don't tell me if your prediction is we're going to go another year without seeing each other. We'll just cut this off now. But Mike, let me start with you. What's your prediction? What's this year going to be like?
You know what? So actually,
are you getting married?
Am I getting married? I am getting married this year. I think there's no choice in it. So the first time around, the first time around when we scheduled the wedding, no one could actually travel, and it was a destination wedding. So of course, no one's going to be able to take off, and people weren't feeling comfortable. I think we're getting to a point between now the COVID vaccinations actually accelerating. I think it's about 1 million people in the U.S. a day are getting vaccinated, to travel restrictions being lightened in some areas at times. I do think that I will be a spoken for man by the end of this year. But I also think that I'm going to see you guys by the end of this year as well. I for sure think that we're going to be able to squeeze in a little bit of travel. I'll be interested to see what the conference situation is like, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think about conferences as well, and that whole shift towards online virtual events. But I think for the rest of the year, it's going to be trying to untangle the mess of personal and professional life being so tightly ingrained, and actually trying to take some space. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be taking vacations right after the whole pandemic. Yeah, they haven't gone anywhere, but I think people just need to get out from where they've been for the last year. Yep. And I think there's going to be a huge dip in, people's availability all around the country, all around the world, in fact, after travel restrictions start lightening. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think 21 is going to be like 20. Unfortunately, it is the fact. Vaccinations are slow. Every country has the same problem. They are slow.
Believe in something, man. Believe in something.
21 is going to be the same. Maybe by the end of the year, Christmas, maybe we're going to do our Inforum annual conference in person. Maybe that will be the first time that we will meet. Maybe we'll go to AWS reInvent, our favorite conference. Maybe we'll do some analyst conferences as well. And this time we will invite people that will show up all the days. And but then I think that's gonna be the time where we're gonna meet I don't think that we will meet before. Maybe you will be able to go on holidays yourself, maybe in the summer. I think that probably is gonna happen. But from a really business meetings, I think it's gonna be fall, winter next year. So that's my prediction. I'm not gonna get married because I'm already married. So, and once is already enough. So that's really good. I already have 3 children. So that's, I'm done with that. Maybe I'm gonna get my hair back, and I'm gonna get my braces gone, and I'm gonna have my Hollywood, good looking
Smiles.
It's gonna be ready to go.
Well, that's something to believe in, Rick.
Yeah, that's certainly something to try to believe in. But yeah,
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna play the glass half full role. You've got to believe that this has got to get better, right? Like maybe there were some policies and things in place that made it a little bit slow at first, but I'm gonna be a believer that people are going to get more and more comfortable with this. We're going to hit that threshold to where we're getting enough herd immunity. I'm gonna make the prediction that we're doing more things even towards the back half of summer. And I feel like I have to believe that in order to have that motivation, because again, it's just really important to have those personal relationships and to get back to some sort of normalcy in our areas of work. So, I'm really hopeful that we get to do Inforum this year in person, because at least for us, I don't want to speak for the events people, but it's so much more work doing this virtually. Yeah. Other than preparing my content and demo stuff and having one-on-one conversations with prospects or customers or with our colleagues and showcasing things, it's just so much more efficient. But yeah, I'm hopeful. But please don't let it be another year before we see each other again. We'll find some excuse. 2
words, Rick. La finestra.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I know you hate traveling, but that's the one thing that's going to get you out of bed every single day is just piles and piles of steak from around the world.
Great food.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I enjoyed seeing you guys today. For our listeners, don't forget to subscribe. Let us know your feedback. Let us know any sort of topics you want to hear moving forward. And we'll get back to the technology topics next week. See ya.
Thanks, guys. See ya.